Thank you. Then we'll start with public testimony. We'll start with Mr. David Ortega. Mr. Ortega is, so while we are hearing the cases as one, and most people are commenting as one, Mr. Ortega would like to speak individually on each one of the cases. So, Mr. Ortega, I think we'll start off with item number 9, and then we'll move to number 10.
Thank you.
Number 11, and then we'll have 2 minutes on each one of those items.
Thank you. I will speak for 4 minutes and then reserve my final 2 minutes after others.
Very good.
The case that you see today, I'm not representing any particular landholder or anybody, any particular individual. But the case you see, we will have many people say they want the Rose Garden project because it's not condos. And so we expect that, and we can agree with that premise. One of the things that's happening tonight is they don't want apartments. However, what's changed over the last 10 or 12 years is that as a condo, it might become an Airbnb. You may have a result of that by having a condo provided, and I do not see any stipulation with reference to this. So, although many speakers will say they'd rather have this than apartments, I can agree with that, but you're leaving yourself wide open on the other situation because this is city property. So the city itself could stipulate as a transfer of the deed, and that's not something that can be discussed or stipulated. It's not currently in the discussion for today. The other great concern is people on Fifth Avenue are losing 126 parking spaces, presently called the Rose Garden. So what's missing on your fact sheet of key details is all the businesses along Fifth Avenue are losing that. Originally, city signed an agreement that they would replace the parking. However, over the years, that was taken away. So the big takeaway here is that 124 spaces are being taken away. Now, by bundling Rose Garden with the rest of the deal, that is opening up the renegotiation of that fact. The people that have properties, then customers, and the people that even park on the South Bank already are using that. But now it's all going to be personal property, and it would be eliminated. What I'm going to show you is this in the overhead. They are showing. The question was, how consistent is it with a walkable city? If you could see, this is Building C. What they are proposing is encroaching into Fifth Avenue. They're going beyond the property line and going 12 feet over. Now, we are required normally to have a covered canopy. That's a shade element. But they're actually proposing to put people's bedrooms or living rooms and their patios over public property. That's never been done before. I've been here 40 years. I see no reason for that. And placing that before you is really very irregular. The other problem with that is that the road itself, Fifth Avenue, is only about as wide as from me to the chair where the drive is. So basically, the cars were parked right underneath the edge of the building as they're encroaching 12 feet. It's never been done before. Why do that? They're already asking for 66 feet above the area. The other problem is any fireman will tell you that if you've got to put a fire and you've got a ladder truck and you're trying to reach floors 4, 5, and 6, you can't do that because they're going up 35 feet. 35 feet. After encroaching, they're going up vertically, which again is uncalled for. And on that basis alone, this project should go back to the drawing board. Is not proper. It's something that cannot be stipulated, and it's very irregular. The other thing I'll say is the reason why it's encroaching on the canal is because they're asking you to give them the alleyway. You don't have to. You don't have to. You could set them back 16 or 18 feet. They're asking tonight for the free alley. And even if they paid for it, that's encroaching into the reason they can't build closer to the canal. It's federal property. They're not doing you a favor by saying that. It's literally and finally, on again the key elements, they're stating that the amenity along the canal, it's item number 11 on your bullet, may not be available anymore. In other words, by giving them the alley, they're telling you up front, or the staff is telling you, you may lose the convergence or other amenity areas that you have. So that's listed, and that's, I believe, I've gone over a little bit, but I think I have 1 minute left. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ortega. Do I understand you're trying to reserve that time to speak in the future?
Because there may be some other discussion.
So you're wanting to take that card and then speak in the future?
Well, I have 6 minutes, but if you want, I can conclude when I want. Answering a question, if someone has a question.
Anybody have any comments or questions for Mr. Ortega?
Staff, I mean, is this true? I mean, are these comments correct? I guess my question would be of staff, his comments he's made about overhangs over into the street and accessibility by the fire department. Is that accurate?
Chair Alessio, Commissioner Cush, obviously at this stage the concept's a little, it is the concept. The details of how things can overhang into the right-of-way, those will be flushed out a little more at the DR stage. But generally speaking, we do allow overhangs for shade canopies into our right-of-way, provided they meet all the requirements for access and the applicant agrees to purchase that area for.
And I'm pretty familiar with the fire department. They're never going to let you get away with too much. So, all right, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, just to be clear, I will wrap up my last 2 minutes. And
Please.
This case, again, there's so many specifics, and it's so complex that it needs to be continued and should not be voted upon right now. For instance, just 16 days ago, they posted, this was August 6th, a request for a $2 million waiver and an extra 66 feet. Now that came before the application was made on the 6th, just 16 days ago. They're asking for that without giving you a chance for due deliberation, and obviously they're asking for all those setback concessions. And then the staff is telling you that they oppose that they don't want that. So I would highly recommend that these be voted on separately. You will be remiss if you don't vote on the abandonment separately, because again, that deals or continuing that discussion until the setbacks are properly done. There will be an uprising of the local merchants because they're losing public parking spaces. Right now, there's over 560 new residential units, and there's 1,500 parking spaces. So there's only 1,000 for the hotel and all the offices and everything else. And the public good is losing 125 spaces at the Rose Garden. So that is negotiable. I believe that the public should not lose that, and I don't believe that we should be giving them property which crowds the amenity that makes Scottsdale special. So that would hurt the activities between there and Goldwater. And if you've been to the convergence or anything else that has been presented at the holiday time, you just don't want it to say, well, they've got a balcony there and you've got to stop your amenity here, because right now it is used by the public and it should be kept wide open.